Hello, everyone. So, welcome to the U Talks. For the ones of you that don't know, the U Talks was a seed fund funded by Unite. It was composed of 8 different universities who joined together. These students were from SURE, the student body of Unite, and they thought about creating this event that gathered the main Unite topics and tried to inspire a few of you, not only here in person, but also online. There's streaming happening, and you can add subtitles to it, so accessibility. Well, from my side, I'm Beatriz. I'm a student from Lisboa, and I'll be your presenter for this first part. At the end, you'll be able to ask questions to all of our speakers. Then the first person I'll ask is Alexander. I'm sorry, I'm going to try to say it in Swedish. Granberg. Alexander is a leader and innovator dedicated to connecting academia and industry. Him and his team are also responsible for connecting KTH students to the business sector. He's also the co-founder of Project Dive, promoting computer science to women and non-binary students. He will be presenting as the talk, The Courage to Act When No One Else Does. Come on stage, please. Alex.
Does this work? Perfect. Hello, everyone. So yeah, you just heard what I work with and what I do, and I'm going to speak about my project that was mentioned. And we're going to start off this speech very TED-talky. So I want all of you to imagine that you're standing at the edge of a cliff. In front of you is a fall, the unknown, but also endless opportunity. Behind you is everything you know, comfort and familiarity. Around you is also a bunch of people on this cliff. But all of these people is staying way behind from the edge, frozen by fear, by doubt, by the comfort of familiarity. But if change is needed, and no one else is willing to jump, they're standing way behind, then who will jump? Who will make the change? I believe the people who change the world are the ones who choose again and again to take that step when no one else will. The ones who dare to jump. So I want to share my own experience with this. And to be clear, I'm not saying I've changed the world at all. But I have faced my own metaphorical cliff. So let's go back a couple of years, like 2. And that's when I started computer science. And like many other people, I have certain expectations of this. I imagined that I, for 5 long years, would be surrounded by a bunch of basement-dwelling guys with a lacking budget for deodorant. Might sound familiar. But on my very first day of reception, this stereotype was completely shattered. There were women. A lot more than I expected. And among the older students running the reception, the gender balance was almost 50-50. At first I was thrilled, and not for the reasons you might think. It just felt like a sign of progress. Proof that computer science wasn't just a stereotype. But when I took a step back and looked at the bigger picture, something really didn't add up. I went home that day, and I checked the stats, the ratios, and I saw that far fewer women than men were actually applying. And out of the 300 new students my year, only 15% of them were women. But studies show that interest in computer science among younger women in high school is way higher in Sweden. So why weren't more women applying? I started asking them, and I learned something shocking. They simply didn't know the truth. There was no way for them to see the social life before applying, leaving space for those stereotypes to grow, the same ones I had believed. And that stereotype alone was enough to scare people away from pursuing possibly their dream education. At first I thought, surely someone will fix this. But no one did. And then I heard something that really broke my heart. It was my brother's girlfriend and she told me that she had for a very, very long time dreamt of studying computer science since way before high school, but she too had been uninformed. Fear of isolation took over, and she applied for something else instead. And that hurt, and that's also when it hit me that this change was needed, and no one else was going to step forward. So maybe I had to be the one. And here's the comfortable truth. We all see problems, but it's easy, too easy, to assume that someone else will fix these problems. We tell ourselves, I'm too busy, it's not my problem. Someone more experienced can handle it, right? But the reality is that most often than not, no one does. Students are especially good at spotting problems. I don't know if you've noticed. We see them everywhere, our institutions, our communities, in that one guy who never pulls his weight in group projects. But instead of taking that first step towards changing these problems, we just wait. But change doesn't come from waiting, it comes from taking action. And I want you to think about your own life now. What's a problem you've noticed that no one seems to be tackling? A lack of diversity in your field? A toxic culture in your social circles? Maybe it's the way your job or chapter runs extremely ineffective meetings. Now, what if you stopped waiting? What would happen? What if you were enough to start the change? And I can tell you that if I, a complete dum-dum that can't even memorize a little speech, can do anything at all, then you are more than enough to make a difference. I asked myself these questions, and one day I decided to act, to take that step off my edge. And I started Project Dive. Project Dive is an initiative to bridge the gap between perception and reality for women and non-binary people considering computer science. We visit high schools and preparatory programs, and we've created a website to show potential applicants that truth, that our computer science chapter isn't a reflection of the stereotype at all. It's a welcoming and accepting space where everyone belongs at every level of engagement. And when I started, I didn't know much. I had no idea if it would work, and I definitely didn't know enough about women's experiences, obviously. But I knew that doing something, anything really, was better than standing still. We don't yet know the full impact of the project. We have to wait until summer. But one thing has happened. We're working towards change. And KTH is supporting us with this a lot, actually, and is doing everything they can to help us. But my personal goal with this project was just to hear the following sentence once. I was too scared to apply, but now I'm going to. And that would make it all worth it. That has happened a lot more than once already. And here's what I learned from that. You don't need to be a hero. You don't need a grand plan. You just need to take that one step forward. Action really doesn't require perfection. It requires courage, a belief in oneself, and a care for other people. I myself struggled to get Project Dive off the ground for over half a year, but then someone else took a step over that edge and decided to help me. That's how change happens, small, brave choices made again and again. So to everyone here, remember this. The problems you see in your life, they're opportunities to lead, to take charge, to create change. When you go home today, think about the problem you wish would change. And then, no matter how big or small, try to take that first step. Find a solution. Because in the end, it's not the smartest, or the most talented, or the best who change the world. It's the ordinary ones, with the courage to act when no one else does. And that person can and should be you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Alexander, for your speech. It was very inspiring. Then we'll proceed to the second speaker, Maria Giulia Ballatore. Maria Giulia is very dedicated to addressing the disparities of gender in STEM, from primary school onward. She will let us know more about it in her speech. Be an engineer, it's game. Welcome.
Hello? Can we try this one?
I can go with this one. Oh, way more better. Okay. When I was 6, I wrote on my school notebook, when I grow up, I want to be an inventor. That's perfect at that age. At 10, it was still acceptable. But by 14, people start laughing at me or looking at me in a strange way. So today, when somebody asks me why I choose the engineering career, I simply ask, because I like to build, to create. But inside me, I know that inventing is something different. It's not a project. To invent, you need to discover. You discover first, and then you can create something. So reality always finds a way to surprise us, and that happened to me as well. I enrolled in electrical engineer, and I entered in a class not like Alexander told. We were 2 female in a whole world of male, 75 to be perfect, to be precise. And there, I start to be very fascinated by the teaching dynamics that occur. Electrical fields, it's a very specific field in which teachers need to explain and students need to understand something that you only know by the effect. So we know lights, but what's the electrical things? So it requires teaching mechanisms that are completely new. When I graduated, I decided to go deeply in this topic. And I entered the magic world of engineering education. It's a vast interdisciplinary field. And I bumped into spatial ability, a very specific, tiny research field. And here come the Lego Duplo. I think that right now, for all of you, it just came in your memory, a playful, very nice memory about childhood. But actually, behind this Lego Duplo, very bright in color, there is the essence of the foundation of engineering thinking. As I manipulate this brick, I'm not just playing, but I'm engaging with spatial ability. And with this engagement, I'm touching all the work that is behind engineering. As an engineering education researcher, I'm starting to understand that spatial ability are not just helpful, useful, they are essential. And yet, they remain one of the most overlooked aspects of how we prepare engineers today. But how many of you knows what spatial ability are? Let me explain a little bit. We have 3 main concepts, we call it construct, behind spatial ability. The first one is spatial perception. Let me ask you this question, and please raise your hand. How many of you, after dinner, put the waste on the organic bin? And to how many of you happen at least once in life that you didn't get to get the bin and it went on the floor? To me, happens sometimes as well. That's spatial perception. So whatever in our brain is that we estimate the weight of our waste, we look at the distance from the plate to the bin, the shape of the bin, the shape of the plate, our brain calculates the force that we need to put, and the magic happens. The waste should go into the bin. That's all the work that our mind is doing. So spatial perception happens and occurs all the time that we have a trajectory and we need to predict and do something by our mind. Let's think about volleyball, football, tennis. We have a ton of spatial perception there. Then we have a second construct, mental rotation. That's easier to explain, but not to act. To go from 2D to 3D model, from 3D to 2D. Or if I ask you, the green block is at your right or left side compared to the shape of the blue block? You all answer that is at your right. But what about my side? Is that my right side or left side? Left side. You could do that in many different ways. You can change perspective in real life. You can turn the block, or your brain can do it for you. That's mental rotation. Then we have a third last concept, that is the spatial visualization, that is a more complex one. For example, when you do puzzle at home, that's mental visual visualization. It's a combination between something that is more perception and something that is more mental. Why they are important? Because if I ask to look at your experience as engineer or as a STEM professional, students as well, you could tell at least one example in which these skills occur in your study. Let's take the example of chemistry that all of us have a little bit of experience on. Two molecules, in particular organic one, you need to visualize them in order to understand how they can interact. And sometimes the same names have two different shapes in space. So if you don't have this ability in your mind, how can you understand deeply the chemistry topic? And that's true for all the STEM subjects. So, a good news. These skills are malleable. That means that we can train them, and the improvement lasts over time. It's the same for math, reasoning, or studying a language. They are all working in the same way. So these skills may come naturally to some people than to others, in particular to male. Why? Because from childhood, they are more exposed to games that train these skills. Think about car game, how many trajectory we have there. Think about Lego, construction, ball game. And so what happens is that then these gaps just grow over time. So we can say that when we talk about gender gap in engineering and in STEM, and it's true worldwide, we often focus on social barrier, stereotypes, role model. Those are real concepts. But in my research, I discover a completely different angle, a perspective, the development of spatial skills. And actually, I was fascinated, really, because the research shows something remarkable, that at all age, if you train specifically spatial skills, you can improve STEM performance in all gender. And it is fascinating for the lecturer point of view, because you see so many times in students some light bulb moment. Let me give you some example. A student who struggle with 3D visualization and is studying electronic component. At one point, reinforcing his 3D thinking, just start to understand how concepts can interact to each other. And in this way, the layers are better to be defined. They can reduce the number of layers in its component. Or structural mechanics. If you start to visualize it, then forces, stresses come to you in a new way, and you can predict the calculation somehow. What's more exciting of that this improvement happen very, very quickly. It can be just 1 week of training, and you can start to see the results actually happening there. We have many research about it. So this suggests that many of the barriers that we have in engineering are not about inherent ability. They are about access the right kind of thinking tool. So why this matter? This matter because engineering needs different perspective to solve complex problems. When we limit the access to engineering, we are limiting our collective problem-solving capacity. And this limit can be a physical barrier, a more tangible barrier, or a more intangible, like the spatial skills. So engineering is essentially about solving problems, transforming something abstract into concrete solution. Remember that 6-year-old girl? She was right all along. Engineering is about discovery. And actually, as much as it is designing, it's about playing with possibility until you get the right and the new kind of vision, until you find something that works. But it's about being game, because it's about try, it's about fail, learn, and try again. So this is my daily work as an engineering education researcher. I'm inventing new paths so that anyone who wants to can answer to the question, be an engineer. I'm game. Because the words need all kinds of minds working on the problem, and those problems are far too important to let somebody outside. So play and enjoy engineering life.
We'll take care of this. You can carry the microphone. You could take. Thank you very much. Then we will go to our third speaker. This one is very dear to me, Pau Massa. Pau is an innate student representative. Not only is he one of the short spokespersons along me, but also a coordinator for UPC's local student council and the Catalan Student Council. We'll let him explore it more on the next speech, Beyond the Classroom, the Power of Student Voices. You don't have water.
Thank you for the introduction, Bea. The following stories that you are going to hear were performed by a student, so please do try them at home. I'm saying this because it's important that all of the students get involved. And as the title of my presentation says, beyond the classroom, the power of student voices. To go beyond the classroom, first we have to start with a little brief story within the classroom, because I did not become a student representative by magic. It happened because I was in the right place at the right time. It was one day when we just got some bad grades at my classroom. Everyone failed the test, very difficult test, and obviously everyone was kind of complaining. And who do you need to complain to? The class delegate. That time, and luckily for me, it was me. And at that time, with all of the mess going around, I had an idea. I remembered something that the previous semester, we were able to change in the student council the activity evaluation criteria. So it allowed us to take part on an extra exam to maybe try to fix our bad results. So I said, okay, maybe we can try that. We went to the professor, everything was cool. Obviously, the professor was not cool, because his answer was literally, but this has never been done before, so we will continue doing that way. Then I thought, maybe it's not that easy as I thought, but we need to keep pushing, because it's on the evaluation curriculum, it's something that we need to do, and maybe we can just do better than we are doing right now. Then, obviously, we started a bit of a dialogue between our students, we collected some signatures, and I just knocked on the deans of the academic board, and I said, hello, I have this thread of emails. I have this evaluation criteria, and it's not matching very well. In 2 weeks' time, we had another exam, obviously impossible to pass, and everyone failed again, obviously, because short notice, and I mean, no one likes change, not a sudden change, and especially not a forced one. But you may say, wow, this is not a win, this is not a success. Well, I think it is, because from that day forward, we had the ability, there was not even in question that the students could retake that test to improve our grade. So it was not a success for our own studies, but it was a success for the general student community, which I think was the aim of that action. That action allowed me to dive deeper in student representation, which is the main thing that I'm speaking here about, and I want all of you to try this at home. This allowed me to go deeper and deeper and deeper, and one of the recent victories that we had was, and it's still happening, it's about changing one of the deep problems that we had, which for students it's paying for your higher education. This led to a lot of problems. The problem was we need to pay for our studies. Not everyone has the money to pay for it, so maybe we need to find some kind of solution. But then we thought, well, this is not a me problem, it's an us problem. And not in UPC, it also affects like all the students in Catalonia, so we need to do something. So first, we needed to coordinate among ourselves. Then we need to create a plan. The plan was created. There were like 2 ways of the plan. One more diplomatic way, and one more not so diplomatic, but also getting to the point. We were able to go both ways, obviously. We tried the diplomatic first. We went to the Ministry of Higher Education in Catalonia, and the answer of the ministry was like, yeah, you cannot do the reduction of the 30% of taxes because we have no money. We said, okay. We are continuing with our other plan, which was more like people-centered. We obviously allied with all of the student councils and all of like local student associations. Demonstrations were in place, headlines on the newspapers, and we were collecting signatures for us to get a law implemented in the parliament, so then the law was binding and the taxes needed to be reduced. No questions asked. That also meant that it was a long process. But then we started thinking. The ministry said, we don't have the money. Well, let's go to speak to the Treasury Ministry. We went there. And surprise for ourselves, the Treasury said, oh yeah, we can do that. We have more money this year, so let's try it. We were ecstatic, but still continuing with the other one because, you know, a politician's promise can always be broken, but let's hope that the law cannot. So yeah, we had the promise of the tax reduction, and it happened actually, but we also went with the more popular approach, and we introduced the law to the parliament, and then this also brought another more diplomatic ways of doing things, which is we obviously met with all of the political parties to explain the situation, explain advantages, disadvantages, trying to convince all of them to vote in favor of the law. This happened 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 years ago, and everyone voted in favor, so the law was passed. And I'm telling you this because you can start little, or you can go big, or you can do whatever you like, but the key point here is not the individual achievements or even bigger achievements, which are collective ones, but the key of this and the thing that you need to try to do at home is to involve yourself in your surroundings. University, school, everything is not about your ECTSs. It's not about the curriculum. Yes, that's an important part of it, and you need to go through it. But the university life that was being sold to all of us by our parents, by our teachers, by everyone, it doesn't happen inside the classroom. It happens outside. For me, it happened in my student council. I did not go in there to make friends. They just became my friends because we had shared fights. We had collective problems, so we find solutions. It can happen in student associations, in not so formal student gatherings. You can go get a beer with someone else and you can just create a startup some way. It can happen, oh, maybe I'm interested in doing podcasts. Maybe you find some people interested in that. Maybe you can start a student association. These connections can only happen or are usually happening in university because it's a space for us to create. University brings creativity to the table, so we just need to sit on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Then this first part is almost coming to an end. But before that, we have our first speaker, Armin Ernst. Armin is also a student, but this time in architecture and urbanism, and very passionate about space technologies. With all of this, he has been involved in the student council of the Polish Space Agency, Project Scorpio, and Lunares, conducting research as an analog astronaut. Let's hear more about it in our last pitch, From Campus to Cosmos.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Armin, and I study in Wrocław University of Science and Technology. I am the architecture student. Right now, I'm doing my master's degree, and I am a member of many, even too much, students' organizations at my uni, and even not in my uni, because I'm also a part of the Students' Council in the Polish Space Agency. Firstly, yes, we've got something like Space Agency in Poland, and there's a Students' Council for this. There is a group of students from the whole country. Two students from Wrocław Tech, me and my friend Victoria, but I will be talking about Victoria a little bit later. The students are from different universities from the whole country. They study different things. Obviously, there is some mechanical engineers, there's some computer guys, but there are also people who study medicine, who study law, one architecture student. And we are trying to do something with the space industry. And I am also a member of the Students' Union at Wrocław Tech. I am the person that is responsible for the contact with the students' organizations at my uni. So I'm like the connector between all the students' organizations, the students' association, and the university. And obviously, I love all of them, and I am a part of one of those organizations. And the organization that I really like because because I'm there for, 4 years right now, it's Project Scorpio. Project Scorpio creates Martian rovers. What is it? It's literally a moving laboratory. And this vehicle has some devices that, like a spectrometer, like some devices that can check if some fossils has life inside. Also can go autonomously without any help of the crew. Those photos are from the last year, from University Rover Challenge in United States. By the way, next month we'll be flying to Australia. Last year we won the first prize because there are some competitions for the students from the students project that for those people who creates this kind of things. From the United States, I can say that we fly there like 1 week before the competition. And as you can guess, it's hard to take the rover to the US. So we disable like the whole rover in Poland. We put this to our luggages and send it with us. And later, for the next week, we are trying to put this together in a little garage, in a little village in the middle of nowhere. So we were really feeling like those people from movies and from all the stories that are creating something weird in the garage. Even our neighbors were a little bit shocked about this, but they really like it because, come on, it looks good, it looks great. Also, at the photo on the right, you can see a drone. The drone, just like the rover, it's created in 100% by our students. Maybe not all the components are created by us, but we created like the whole rover. And the drone is created by different science club from my uni, from the AKL. They're creating drones, students, little planes, and they're also winning some competitions. And the drone was used last year like a second eye, just to, flying over the Mars yard to find some stuffs, because we didn't know what we have to find, and it was helped to us just to find some stuffs during one of the mission. The next project that my friends created at Wrocław Tech, it's project Macki project. It's created by Pewere in Space. The blonde girl is Wiktoria Mrowiec. She's my friend from the Students' Council of the Polish Space Agency. And they created, Macki project. What is Macki? Macki in Polish means tentacles. It's the arm of the octopus, and it looks like this. The reason why it looks like this, it's because they tried to create a mechanism to catch some space debris in space, and for this they used the 0G plane. So last year they were flying in this plane and they were testing this mechanism, and they told me that everything was great. I believe because the photos were really good. And I'm really happy about this because I know those people and I know that we are doing a great job. And just like Project Scorpion, they've got an idea and they did something by their own. And they are all students. So we are proud about this. Also, just going to the end, I would like to say a little bit more about me because as I said earlier, I study architecture. It's not the first thought that we are thinking when we are thinking about space, but architectures also can do something important. And I was in Lunares. It's a research station that simulates space mission. It's located in Poland, and it's run by a doctor from Wrocław Tech, Mr. Leszek Orzechowski, also architect. And what is Lunares? In this habitat, the people from around the world are closed for 2 weeks or more. They are completely isolated, without internet, without social. We've got internet, but without social media, and without access to some newses. And for the whole time, when we are isolated, we are doing some experiments, because the main aim of this type of facilities is, before you are sending something in space on ISS, it means the International Space Station, it's important to check this in Earth before you are sending something in space. So this kind of experiments firstly are sent to this kind of space habitats. And we are testing those experiments for the 2 weeks or more, because we've got also 1-month missions and more. And after the tests, we can tell them like what we did, and if everything was great, they are sending this in the space once again. Also, there is a lot of studies about the human psychology, because it's hard to be closet with people you don't know for 2 weeks. But yeah, to be fair, it wasn't hard because the crew was great. Those people were also from Poland, but 3 of them were from US. The girl was from Belgium, I was from Poland, and one guy was from Egypt. So pretty international. And this facility, as I said earlier, it's located in Poland. It's in, not in Wrocław, but in Piła. It's located in post-military airport in hangar, post-military hangar. On the left side, you can see the place where we spent like the whole 2 weeks, closet, without window, without knowing how the weather looks like. And in the hangar, on the right side, it's an artificial moon yard. I don't have this photo right now, but you can just imagine that there is a lot of sand, like the dust, gray one, and with works, and it looks like a moon. And because it's hangar, it's completely dark, so we can just turn on some light, or we can do some missions there without the light. Also, obviously, when we are going outside, I mean to the EVA area, extravehicular activity area, we are putting some space suits, and for next 2 hours we are doing also like some experiments in the EVA area. And I think it's 10 minutes left, so if you have any question, I will be talking about this later if you want. And thank you for listening to me.
I don't think so, but yeah. Well, thank you very much for your presentations. Now we will have some time for questions from the public. So if you have any questions, I don't know if from home anyone has any questions, or yeah, here. I don't know if we can pass one of the microphones.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Vale.
thank you.
Thank you all for these inspiring talks. It's been really enlightening, and I've really enjoyed them all. I followed Pau's history as if it was mine 20 years ago, organizing strikes. And I really liked the last talk about space program, because we have a space program here. We have 2 associations here in Barcelona working with the same topic as you work. And I liked Maria Julia's talk, because I would like to talk further with you later on this evening, because I think there are some activities that have always been female-related that have this spatial component, although we might not think they have, like knitting, which is something that I do every day. And I have a question for the first speaker. I don't remember your name, and I was trying to look for it in the program. Sorry for that.
Alexander.
Alexander. Hi, Alexander. I want to ask you something about your project, because I've realized that feminism has gone far, not where we wanted to go, but I think that we've worked so much to tell the girls that they can do whatever they want to do, and I feel this is something that has really got some roots nowadays with little girls. But I think the problem now it's more on the males. So they have to acknowledge that there are some spaces in society that don't belong to them, and that they have these spaces just because the fact that they are males. So I want to know that if you're tackling this question in your project, and if the answer is yes, how are you doing this? Because I think that's where we have to go, and also seeing the results in Germany, and how the young males and female vote, and which are the differences. and seeing my friends, male friends around saying, no, but I'm here because of meritocracy. And I'm like, no, this is not meritocracy, this is patriarchy. So I want to know if you are working with this, because gender gap is not only for females to know that they can belong to a space, but for males to acknowledge that there are some spaces that they have to give to females. So, do you know, did I make myself clear?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
I think so. Yes, I am working a lot with this actually. So before I started this project, I worked with like the business relations group in my chapter, and through that I managed to open up the possibilities for more of these kinds of things from both companies and organizations to come and teach us about these questions specifically for men. And we've had one in particular called Purple Pill, an organization that works with this exact question, which is a group of only men, which is quite funny, that speak to mostly men about giving space and how we do that and how we should act and think and how we as men should tackle these issues, like where we have to leave them, where we have to adapt, and how we can make a more inclusive environment for everyone. And that's one example, but yes, I do think about this a lot. And starting this project, like one of the scariest things was that I was a man, and what the hell am I doing? And I shouldn't be representing these kinds of questions, etc., etc. So my goal was just to help like the planning of the project and everything, and have like the women around me in the chapter and the women working with inclusivity do the actual project. But they wanted me, they told me actually, to be like the front figure of this, to show that men care as well. And other big organizations in Stockholm, Sweden, that work with this question, external organizations that has helped me with this, told me the same thing. So I've thought about it a lot, and I've asked a lot of questions, and yes, I am working with it.
Well, thank you so much for your question, and thank you so much for the great answer. Can I? Yeah, of course.
There is a beautiful book about this that is called How to Grow a Feminist Male. It's by a French researcher, and it's amazing. Exactly saying that we need more role model male showing that this is not something real, but it can be changed.
Well, thank you so much. I think after this we will all have a very big rise in book sales after the dialogue. We will all be reading this book. Are there any other questions for our speakers before we pass to the next round? Mateusz, please.
So, hi, I'm Mateusz from Wrocław, and I actually have a question to Armin that just came to my mind when we talked earlier about that you study engineering, architecture, and I was wondering, yeah, running joke. So I was wondering how, when you're like learning about architecture and you know the history and how it affects, and you decide, you know what, I'm gonna build something like in space. I'm gonna focus on that. What was your story that you decided to focus on something like so, at least in my opinion, different to how mostly people perceive what people studying architecture want to do?
Firstly, I love this question. It's so complex that I think I will be not able to have the good answer for you right now, because I still don't know like what was the first factor that I decided to do something connected with space. But I always loved looking into the sky. I was always the person that was, let's say, thinking too much, and later somebody was like, Armin, wake up. So yeah, I always was living in the stars, and I always liked Star Wars movies, Star Trek. So and I I study architecture, so I tried to connect this into something, into one piece. So I don't have an answer for this, but I think there is a big space for architectures in the future because we want to live in the space in the future. We will be flying to the moon, we will be flying to the Mars and beyond. And we still don't know how the moon base will be looking like. So it's not like the engineers will be designing this, but architects will be designing this. And what is architecture? Architecture is also the knowledge about the ergonomy. I don't know how to say this in English. In Polish, ergonomia. It's the studies about this, how to create create the habitat possible to live for people. So it's really important to create also the space for people to feel comfortable, even if you are not in your natural habitat, because space wants to to kill you. So we are trying to create something possible to live for all of us. Yeah, thank you.
Just want to say I'm sorry about the joke. It was unplanned.
No worries.
Well, thank you very much for all of your speeches. What would I want to say? I don't know. No, I'm kidding. Thank you so much for all of your speeches. They were very, very inspiring. I think after this, we will all be thinking a little more on how we can push ourselves over the edge, how we can bring more people into our fields of STEM, how we can put ourselves out there for student representation, and maybe one day we can all go to space. Then afterwards, I will give the word to Matteo for the roundtable for the next part of our U Talks. Thank you very much.
Yeah, over there. Jakub at the end. On the other one. Okay. I think we have just heard some truly inspiring stories on how different individuals, based on their interests, talents, and strengths, took action to contribute to society in their own unique way. And what stood out to me is their willingness and courage, as Alexander said, to take the first step and create something meaningful. And now, since we are currently at the 11th Unite Dialogue, and what's a dialogue? If not people sharing their views and experiences and engaging in conversation, I think it's time for us to shift gears into a more interactive format with our panel on entrepreneurship. Each of the people on stage have walked their own path, faced unique challenges, and learned valuable lessons along the way. So, I will now introduce each one of them, starting from Alex Jakel, who's a master's student in industrial engineering at TU Darmstadt, who since 2021 has gained hands-on experience in the startup ecosystem. From working as a founder associate at PipePredict, which is a predictive maintenance startup to support early-stage ventures through his role at the highest innovation and startup center, and finally by co-founding Think in Darmstadt, a student entrepreneurship initiative. So welcome, Alex.
Thank you.
Next, we have Gerard Dorn, who is a PhD in computational physics at TU Graz, and a social entrepreneur with a lot of insight into the local startup community. He co-founded a game studio called Adventure Studios, who is dedicated in turning math into fun via a mobile game that aims to make tutoring cheaper for students. So, welcome, Gerard. Next, we have Vaya, we could say a pillar offshore. Tezan, which is a president and co-founder of IASSE, France, and as well as a PhD candidate in neuroscience at Grenoble. She's passionate about international collaboration and leadership, and she has successfully co-founded and managed IASSE France, creating opportunities for students worldwide. Through her journey in academia and organizational leadership, she offers unique insights into the challenges of building something from scratch as a student and the skills gained along the way that fuel entrepreneurial success. So welcome, Vaya.
Thank you.
And finally, we have Jakub Stout from Wrocław Tech, who is a Polish and South African entrepreneur, ex-YouTuber, and founder of the marketing agency Stott Media. The agency has partnered with numerous brands with over 100K followers, so quite a number. And he offers expertise in content creation, AI-driven system optimization, and brand building consultancy. And Upwork has also recognized Jakub as top 10% of marketers worldwide. So welcome, Jakub.
Thank you very much.
So let's begin. I will start with you, Gerard. And I want you to tell us first about your background, and then what inspired you to start your entrepreneurial journey, especially with game development.
Okay, thank you. So I studied mathematics and physics. I couldn't decide which of both, so I just did both. And then I did a lot of teaching. So in the second year, I also was hired as a student assistant, and I think I did 10 years of teaching at my university. And in the last year, I created a MOOC, Massive Open Online Course. And it was by chance, there was an offer, do an excellence MOOC. I applied, I got it, and it was about Bayesian probability theory. It sounds like dry probability theory, and I also have like an artistic side in me. So we have a theater group at TU Graz, and it was Corona and we could not play, and we did digital storytelling. And then I had Bayesian probability theory, why is there no Captain Bayes? And then we had Captain Bayes and her adventures in probability theory. It was like a 9-episode movie to motivate the problems which we dealt in probability theory. And my co-founder saw that. He was also a teaching expert at TU Graz, finishing his PhD, and he had this idea about why not turn mathematics into a game, which is story-based, comprehensible, makes fun, where you can relate, where you don't are afraid of or have anxiety. And this was the moment we actually met in an online digital world, and he asked me, hey, what do you think about that? I have this idea. Since 7 years, nobody did it, and I said, yes, let's do it. And that was the story. Like 2 years ago, we founded the company, and now we are trying to do that.
Amazing, thank you. And Maya, what about you? You're quite involved in student associations, which we could say is a bit different compared to entrepreneurship, but actually it has quite some parallels.
Yes, indeed. So for me, as an IST member and IST Friends co-founder, I would say that the link would be into actually believing in the creation of something that matters. Just like Pau said earlier, your voice matters, and so creating something that will change and something that you believe in is, I strongly believe, really linked, just like the games, for example. Yeah.
Thank you. Jakub, what about you? You have quite, let's say, somehow different background with content creation from YouTube. So could you tell us more about how you started your entrepreneurship?
Sure. So the journey actually started back when I was about 14 years old, and behind my mom's back, I started a YouTube channel. So that's pretty much the story. Only when I got my first paycheck, then she only found out. So yeah, she was very shocked back then. But yeah, that's when it started. I grew my channel to over 10,000 subscribers. I had a couple of videos who have over 500,000 views, and this is where I started. I had to learn to create content, but to create content, I need to also how to scale it to make it visible. So when I started learning more about those aspects of marketing, grabbing attention, I used that knowledge. I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I should start transitioning into a different side and actually help other influencers and other brands with those aspects. Because I was already transitioning into an aspect because I always wanted to go into a startup. I'm still in the business phase of doing marketing, planning to do a technical startup in the near future. But that's why I wanted to go into this business, use the knowledge what I had, and move into helping other businesses and other also influencers. So I'm a retired YouTuber now. And yeah, so that's why I'm transitioning into more business aspect, marketing, working with brands, better understand how they operate. And in the near future, I'm planning to start a tech startup in the more climate tech.
Perfect, thank you. And finally, Alex, you have quite some experience with entrepreneurs and startups, so could you tell us more?
Yes, of course. I'm not a founder in the usual sense, so I'm more than a networker and just a connector between that world. And yeah, I really like to be in that startup ecosystem, and I worked for some startups and for startup-related jobs. And my entrepreneurial journey, when we want to say it like that, started at 2021 when I got hooked in the startup system because I worked back then for a startup in predictive maintenance, and what me inspired back then was that the pure and authentic way that people are working together. It's a startup is more related to a group of friends that want to change something big than a official boss-worker relationship. So that I really liked. So back then, yeah.
Thank you. So thanks for your introductions. I would say you have all very different backgrounds, so you could offer also some different insights into what does it mean to, let's say, start a project, because as we said, it's quite hard to take that step, no? You have this idea, but maybe you have some other obligations in life, right? So starting by you, Alex, I wanted to ask you, how did you balance the demands of university and your involvement with startups and the student association, and what challenges did you face along the way?
So for me personally, what was not that hard challenge, because as I said, I worked part-time as a startup, so I gained some experiences because I worked as a founder associate, really next to the founder, so I saw what the founder is doing, but also, yeah, can do it alongside my study. But as a startup consulting at the Innovation Center and also as a co-founder of the initiative for students, I talked with a lot of people that are like actually founding, and I think one of the most important things is to have an open environment, so around you. On the one side, people that are like motivating you. On the other side, people are helping you to improve your ideas, so like giving you feedback, or maybe also a co-founder that can you help to improve that. So yeah, I think.
And Vaya, so I think what Alex told us is really similar somehow on how student associations exist to create this kind of network, no? And to help each other out. So what's your experience with this?
I'm not sure I understand the question, I'm sorry.
Like, of course you were doing your university in the meantime, and as Alex said, it's very important to start something for students to unite, no? So how did you manage to balance this act of studying and starting something really big, and how these connections helped you in the process?
Okay. So for me, it also has to do a lot with the word association. So like you say, uniting people. I strongly believe that trusting in others to help you start this is also a strong asset. So if you want to start something and don't have the time or energy to do it, you know that you can trust others who share the same vision as you, who want to start it with you, and who can do it with you. So this is something that I believe is really important, to be also able to rely on others, and to also have a good way of managing your time so that you can balance studies and also the rest. Yeah, this to me is the most important.
Absolutely. And Jakob, I think that, of course, growing a YouTube channel, probably you did it before university.
That's right.
So
14 years old.
Exactly. So it gave you, did it give you like a good foundation on how to handle your time when you started also your company during your studies? How did it affect the creation?
Being honest, so when I started Start Media, it was in my gap year. I had a 1.5 gap year because I was moving from South Africa to Poland, and they unfortunately was COVID, and they didn't get my documents ready on time. So I had a 1.5 gap year. Best thing that happened to me. Very grateful because I had that 1.5 gap year to learn, experiment, and build the foundations. That's why I started to worry when I was going to start university. When university started, I also got involved in other organizations. I'm in the university rowing team. I was also I am part of the electric motorsport team. So there was a lot, and it's still, I would say, still in the phase of learning, adjusting, but some techniques of how to manage your time efficiently is, I would say, there's 2 good reads I highly recommend: Atomic Habits and 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. So pretty much, I'm not going to say share specific examples, but pretty much you want to analyze everything that you do, kind of like what Elon Musk is currently doing in the United States, the Department of Government Efficiency. So you want to kind of assess yourself, your personal background, like a business, and you want to try to make it as efficient as possible. So look at what aspects is taking too much time. If it doesn't make sense as well, it takes too much time, then you can as well outsource it, if you want to say. So for example, one thing I was considering even is shopping or eating food. If it takes too much time, it's not worth your hourly rate, then you try to outsource it. So you have to consider everything in your specific example, your context, and see how you can try to eliminate things in your daily life to make the time available for other aspects of your life. I'm also in a phase now currently that I'm also had too much rowing or senior organization and other aspects as well. So I'm trying to eliminate now so I can focus more, because I had phases I focused more on Start Media. I had phases I focused less. But now I'm at the phase that I want to kind of try to focus more on Start Media and also have other people that can do the work and projects for me in the in Start Media, because I want to focus more on strategy, building and scaling what we're doing, and have other people that are very good and better than me to teach me what to do, and they can focus on the client work as well. So if somebody's interested and does marketing here, you can talk to me afterwards.
And you, Gerard, you have, let's say, a little different situation, since you didn't start your, let's say, game development journey while studying. But still, I want to know, were you supported in this startup process by your peers, by your network? How did it happen?
Yeah, there was support, and also maybe also the question: how do you do this step? How are you ready to say to some strange guy, "Yes, let's do it"? For me, it was also the engagement in student unions, and also I did a lot of stuff, and I was not so focused on studying. I studied 2 things. I could not decide. I just didn't care. So the thing I tell first semester students: don't chase ECTS credits. It's a one lifetime chance. It's the one chance in your life where you can really investigate and invest time to study something. And I experienced universities, Technical University of Graz, as a playground where I can explore new things. And I did that a lot. I lost 1 year for organizing international conference, 1 year for founding a student union, 1 year for playing theater. So it's summed up. It's, I'm late, but not so efficient. But I learned a lot. And I also created environment. I think this is one of the key virtues you can have in this time. It's very, let's say, brittle, anxious, nonlinear, and incomprehensible. And the ability to create community is really key. And if you have that, if you can contribute to a community, if you can found a community, then you get a lot of things back. And if you ask me 4 years ago, will you found a company? I would say no at that time, because for me, let's say startup was always thinking about, okay, businessmen, lawyers, greedy men who want to have investments and stuff like that. And I went through 3 accelerators, and one was about social entrepreneurship, where impact is first, which was very appealing to me. And if I look at my study colleagues and let's say science-related, they're not thinking about making money, maybe they're more impact-driven. And so offer them different framing, what business can mean, what a startup can do, how you can operate, will maybe enable or give different perspective to a lot of students in engineering fields. That's, yeah.
Right. I think from your answers, I see kind of a pattern that it's quite hard, let's say, to make something by yourself. No, it's almost like this self-made man myth is. It's actually impossible. Nobody can actually achieve something by themselves, right? Because as Alex and Vayad were saying, but also you, Gerard, your network was fundamental. Like the people trusting you, people encouraging, but in general, you couldn't have done it alone. That's what I mean. And also in your case, Jakub, I think it's quite clear because you were limited, let's say, by the amount of time and of things that you could do by yourself. And so I think it's quite clear how it's fundamental for people to create these connections. And I think it really also revolves about Unite. What Unite is, at the end of the day, is also about forming connections and creating something that was not achievable before. But sometimes I think you can also encounter the opposite, so not people that actually encourage you, but maybe people that are kind of doubtful. So by starting from you, Jakub, I wanted to ask, have you ever faced skepticism, especially because of your young age? I'm thinking about, you were in high school still starting with YouTube, then an immediate transition into the industry. What happened? Did people doubt you?
Sure.
Tell us more.
Sure. First, I want to add to the part about working with somebody and have somebody help build a product, something. I would say that was one of my biggest mistakes when I started off. First off, I didn't want to work for somebody. I said from the start, I wanted to do everything like start, everything from scratch. If I would actually go somewhere, just work, internship, I'll get more experience. Or if I get a co-founder and get other people involved earlier, it will make stuff way easier and I could scale way faster. So I'm actually more in that phase now currently. But when it comes to skepticism, yes, definitely, because I started at age 19, and something with marketing, you have to have social proof to show it. Obviously, I had a YouTube channel, but if you're doing marketing, you can't always show it that well. So definitely had a skepticism. But also how to sell, how to talk to customers, to deliver as well for customers. So I had an issue. I had a mentor. Highly recommend if you can get a mentor, even from universities, that you can always find somebody, some entrepreneur. And I had, he's currently Forbes 30 under 13 marketing in in the States. And he actually just reached out to me. He saw what I was doing. I was very young, and he helped me. And he actually kind of not told me how to reach out and do my own marketing, but he actually changed my mindset to understand that what's my value, what I can provide, and I can go to somebody now, currently, talk to somebody, hey, this is what I do. And but let's say if they don't see the value, so I'm like, okay, no problem. You can go and find somebody else. I just know my value currently, so I don't have that doubt. It's you just experiment, you do over and over, you fail so many times. Like the rule is to go to success, you have to fail a gazillion times. If you don't have failed a gazillion times, you're doing something wrong. There's no chance. So definitely you fail, and along the way you also learn to build your confidence as well in whatever aspect, obviously business, other aspect, public speaking. So this is something that obviously my mentor helped me reshape that and better understand about myself that I know what I'm doing, I have something to offer, something valuable that can help other companies.
Right. Thank you. And Vaya, your student association was quite involved in finding internships for students. So I guess at some point in time, there should have been an interaction between companies and making them trust you that you were capable of connecting university by at the same time being a student yourself. So did you ever encounter a situation when you were doubted by companies?
Yes, a lot. Especially at the start, because so what happens with IST is that IST was a co-founder, France was a co-founder of IST 78, 77 years ago, and then France left, and then we recreated it in France 7 years ago. And so people did not know what IST was anymore, so we could not count on IST's history and how it used to thrive. And so when we asked for internships, they would just look at us and be like, why would I trust you? And this is something that we were able to develop over time, actually, is trust in ourselves. Because we knew that we were doing something for the students, sending students abroad, receiving foreign students in France. And this was something that we strongly believed in. But we, at the time, did not have the trust in the fact that we were actually able to deliver this. And we were like, oh, we're just students, maybe they're right, maybe we can't do this. But we really believed that we can actually help these students. And I'm going back to what I said earlier, if you believe in what you want to do, you can make it happen. And so with a lot of trial and a lot of errors, we learned that, I say we because, as I said, to me, we're a team working. It's not just me, it's all our team. The more you trust in yourself, the more your future partner will trust you. And also, this helped us as well, the skepticism from the company, developed our business model. Like, we didn't really know at first what it should be, and then to gain their trust, we decided to do, let's say, one offer for free, so you see. And we weren't sure about it at first because we're an association, like we also need to live. But it actually worked with a few companies that enjoyed it, and this helped us as well build our trust in ourselves. We made it free, so it was easier for us to believe that, I mean, it's free, so if it doesn't work, it's not such a problem. But we really wanted it to work because of the fact that we believe in the fact that we want to receive a student. And then we received the students, and it was actually a great thing for them. And this helped us build our trust in ourselves. We helped the company trust us. We helped the student trust us as well. So why wouldn't we trust ourselves? And this is something that helps a lot. Yes, trust in yourself so that the others can trust in you. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. And I was thinking about your background, Alex. So probably you can add something to what Vaya said, since you have a lot of contacts with startups. And I'm really thinking those founders, they're really young. They're sometimes below 25. Have you ever heard about stories of distrust or how they overcome this problem?
Yes, of course. I think when you're young, you have not that much experience, that's logically. But I think, as I said, like the community is key then. So it's maybe also like trust in yourself, but also that comes from your community, right? That not means that you need critical feedback. That's the point.
Absolutely.
But I think if you have a good community around you, that helps you to overcome these doubts. Yeah.
Pretty much like they say, you become the person, the average of the 5 people you are closest with. They say so. Pretty much something similar.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Alex. Next, Gerard. Moving into, let's say, more specifics. In your experience, what's one practical tip you'd give a student who has a great idea, but he doesn't have that courage yet, that confidence to take a step and start his own thing?
I mean, if you have an idea, it's a good thing to test it. So if you pitch the idea, you get feedback. And also regarding skepticism, there are like 3 possibilities. You can be critical about yourself. You can feel criticism from others. They don't believe that you can manage it, or they think your idea is bad. First thing you should, I mean, what you think about yourself, you should work on yourself. So the confidence comes with experience, and without failure, you don't learn anything. And with ideas, test them. And I don't know if what I want to do will work. So if a game can help students to learn math in a better way, we will have to turn it out. But if we fail, I want to know why. So this is the learning, this is the goal. I might fail, and don't be afraid to fail, and share your ideas. I mean, some startups, it's very funny, they think they have the super brilliant idea, and they say, I have an idea, I cannot tell you, but that's wrong. You should test and challenge your idea on an early stage, and also be able to bury your ideas. There is a very famous chocolate manufacturer who has a cemetery for his failed chocolate creations, and it's a very good tradition to bury your ideas. And I have a lot of ideas, and I like to sell them, not sell them, to give them away, because I cannot follow all of them. So that's maybe something about ideas.
If I may, something very similar, like, because some people say if they have an idea, they don't want to share it because someone is going to steal it. But pretty much most of the time, a lot of founders, depends who you ask, but a lot of even founders, let's say, I think Y Combinator even mentioned, if you have an idea, if you share it, most of the time, somebody will either way not do it, because they have the motivation, the finances and everything, and they're not willing to go through the entire process of starting a startup. And if they do even try, most of the time they fail anyways. So like you said, like I don't have an application startup, but I did hear a lot about like that if you do have the resource and you can present it to somebody, you build a testing, you're able to see how it works, you get feedback, and you can use that to make the product better. So definitely I would say like a lot of entrepreneurs actually recommend sharing your ideas, talking to somebody, and then somebody else could even somehow become a founder or invest and help out.
Baya, Alex, feel free to jump in.
Mm-hmm. I think it's one of the most important things is like to fail fast, and just go out of your comfort zone. So just call customers, try to get a connection to them, and the other thing I only can repeat it like is the community. And I think a lot of universities have open incubators, programs, events, or like advisories or something like that. So officially advisories from the university that can you help through that process. And it's really important to to get a connection to them. A really famous founder from Darmstadt once said he's raised about $7 million in his seed fund, and he said that startups all about networking. You talk with a lot of people every day, and maybe someday you have luck and somebody can help you with money, expertise, or something similar. So I think that's also like very important to get a fast connection to that community.
Just to jump in and to continue on this, also I feel like when you start something, you could start to see everything as an opportunity. Everyone as an opportunity to get closer to what you want to do. Anybody, even a random stranger in the street, can give you some advice, can even, like you said, become a founder of your idea. And that's why I agree with what you said and what you said as well. Sharing your ideas helps you make them better, and also thanks to you, but also thanks to the other. I really rely on others, but I think sharing is a great thing. Yeah,
absolutely. And one takeaway from what you say, Gerard, is somewhat fear of failure. No, I also noticed this across my peers, but on myself as well. It's very difficult to to see failure as a step towards something else, no? Some iteration. You fail, it's not a big deal, no? But in our minds, we're so dependent on success, right? So finally, I wanted to ask you, how do you measure success? Is it just monetary, economical? Is it something else?
No, it's impact. So if you have like if you're a social entrepreneur, you want to measure impact. You calculate the SDGs, and then you see if you can make a difference. So one of my tutoring students, she wrote me, I asked her, hey, what's your grade? And she said, yeah, I got a B or 2, and quite good. And I bargained a little bit and said that I deserve it. So that was her answer to the teacher, so she got a good grade. And these are the moments where I can measure success to some extent. And yeah, I mean, it's not the money. I mean, you should make a living out of it at some point. And
but what you're really interested in is the social aspect, no? Also,
yes,
I would say.
Yes, I mean, also regarding the culture of failure, this is maybe something which is a bit bad at university, that for example, in mathematics, that's my topic. I think most of you have this ticking system where you get an exercise sheet, you have to prepare the exercise sheet, and you have to tick which problems you solved, and you get called to the blackboard, and you have to solve it in front of them. And a lot of students are really afraid of this situation. And at university, you always have this perfectionism. You want to do it correct. And if you want to make a startup, it's opposite. Make it quick and dirty, 80% in 20% of time. And this is the anxiety to fail is also then manifested in this perfectionism. Just make it dirty.
Right. Love that.
Jakob?
No, just I love that. Like,
do you feel it's something you did as well? Being dirty? I mean, in the iteration, of course. Like, not achieve perfection immediately, but iterative process.
Yeah, it's definitely iterative process. Like, being honest, where I started off was, I was like, nope. Like, because I had a gap year. Like, I said, nope, I'm not planning to do any business at the moment, not planning to do, I just want to focus on doing some video editing, because I really learned it from YouTube, nothing else. Obviously, when I started video editing, I had to learn how to market that. And then I transitioned to another phase. And then somebody said, hey, but you know how to do website, could you do a website for me? I was like, okay, I can do that. In transition. Then I was supposed to focus on law firm marketing. Didn't work out. I didn't know anything about law, moved away from that. Then people started to better recognize me as the guy that does branding, content marketing, because I already had the experience. I used content marketing to build myself as well on LinkedIn and other platforms. So people, when the company came, they had done other aspects of marketing. They said, no, I want you for content, because they just know me for that. So I transitioned a lot. I was supposed to do videography, then I did SEO web, and I transitioned currently to what I'm doing currently. But I'm transitioning now into a phase that I'm, again, transitioning where I'm focusing more on strategy, branding, and having other people helping do the other aspects of the business. So it's an iterative process. I'm probably going to transition a lot. I'm also planning to do a startup in more technology, climate change technology. So, but that's the difference. I'm planning to automate this, make it on autopilot, focus on this as well, but another aspect, another business as well. So you change a lot. Businesses also change over time, over the years, even 10, 20, 30 years. Depends what the market needs at the moment. And if you have a different competitor, you have a stronger side, you transition, and you don't always stay at the same space. So it gets dirty.
Right. Alex, some insights?
Yeah, so I agree with Gerrit. So money can't be the only purpose if you want to be successful. But I think it is a kind of indicator that you are maybe on the right way, because when a business angel or somebody else giving you his or her money, he's like obviously like your idea. So, but the journey of like founding a startup is a hard journey. So, and if you only have money as a purpose, I don't know if you will finish it.
If I may add about the purpose. So I would say that's also very important to not focus on the money aspect, because a lot of people, especially youngsters, they are unemployed, broke, and okay, how can I make a quick buck? How can I make money? You don't want to focus on that, because I focused on that at the start. You want to focus on creating value that in return, if you present something good to market, they will be willing to reward it with no problem, there's no ease, and sometimes not even looking at the price. They just care about the value. So if you focus on delivering value, obviously I'm doing marketing, so you can obviously tell what's the value. But other aspect, if you do a product, another aspect, if you do some sort of organization, if you create the value, people see it, they appreciate it, and they're willing to reward it in some way. So to not focus on the aspect of money, obviously if your company can't be a non-profit, but if you focus on creating a product that does deliver value, then the people and the market and the world reward you for that.
Right. And Vaya, final question. What's success to you?
So we have, in my opinion, I mean, at least for my association, two ways of measuring success. The first one would be not money numbers, but more like, did we send a lot of students abroad? Did we receive a lot of students? Because that's the aim of what we do, it's sending and receiving students. So this is one way of measuring success, but the other, and in my opinion, most important way, is the social one. So knowing that the volunteers actually are sharing the same mindset about the association and having ideas to make it grow, having ideas to change it. You talked about being dirty earlier, and this is actually what we kind of do. I know that we were 4, now we're 40, and it's not the same organization that you need to have between 4 and 40, so it's a lot of trial about reorganizing the team, having different types of managers, or this doesn't work, so this will work, or it doesn't work anymore, so this should work maybe. And to me, the success is in how each new individual brings new ideas to make the other type of success work even more. So, yeah.
Thank you, Vaya. I guess the panel is over. We have some time for questions, so if there are any. Milica, over there. Okay, I guess not, but Alexander, please.
Can you hear me? Yes. I had the honor of hosting the founder of Spotify a couple of weeks ago, Daniel Ek, and he talked about innovation and entrepreneurship. And he argued that the optimization of time is overrated. They should focus on energy, what gives and takes energy, right? And he spoke about the things that gives him energy in entrepreneurship. And the argument was that you don't have a lot of time, obviously. So you have to focus on energy to fix that. I think it's very interesting. For me, it's like discussions, workshops, and planning with other people. That's the thing that gives me energy. And I'm really curious to know what are the things that give you guys energy, in short, because I would really like to hear the answer from all of you. But yeah, what gives you energy in your work when you don't have much time, but it still feels nice?
I know I have a really easy answer, but for me it's because also I'm an associative, it's the volunteers for me, making things work towards the goal. So let's say, so right now we're in the finding internship process. It's having everyone working towards achieving this goal of finding the most internship possible, even if it doesn't work. Just the fact that people are involved into trying to make this be achievable. And also seeing that they enjoy doing it. This is the most important part. And the fact that they enjoy doing it makes someone else enjoy doing it, and in the end it's just a big fun party into contacting companies to find internships. But this is what, in my personal experience gives me energy is having all of us work towards the same thing and helping each other achieving it.
So for me, it's maybe improv theater. It's a lot of energy because I always say if you play theater, it's like holiday from yourself. And new people, we met in October for the first time, students, and they are so energizing and creative. So this is where ideas just pop up, and this is cool. Another thing is game jams. This is a way how you can be dirty or produce fast, and you bring artists together and this creative atmospheres, hackathons. That's very energizing.
Yeah, I think for me, is it to connect with people and see that something is changing. So purpose is a buzzword, we all know that, but yeah, that gives me energy when I see something is changing, and also when I connect with people and maybe can help them. Yeah, very short answer. Yeah.
I would say something that if you want to have like energy is a good question. Let's say more on this, let's say if you want to do more professional career. If you ask your question if you're doing something or want to do something and you were even able to do it without being paid for it, to do it for free, then that's something you should be focusing on. So something you just have to see is, do you enjoy it? Do you do it yourself? And if you're able to enjoy what you're doing, you're able to do it with great passion, and you don't care about the other aspects, and you're willing to focus more energy. I have other organizations or projects I focus on university and so on, and my studies that I just did not enjoy it. And obviously, it procrastinated, I just didn't want to do it. You focus on other aspects, not wanting to do it. So you can see it then, and you just want to like, for me, it was like just knowing what I like, and if I really enjoy it, I'm willing to work on it, no problem, like 7 hours, 8 hours with no break, no going on eating or anything. So, yeah.
I just want to jump in on what you said, because it reminded me also, like, so for example, contacting companies, you get a lot of no's, and this can be really, really tiring. And so another thing that gives me energy is also seeing the students arrive and be happy about getting their internship. Even if it's just one student, you realize all this work for this is amazing, and this gives also a lot of energy. Yeah.
So I would say, to summarize, it's almost like when you find that something that resonates with you, even though it's very tiring, still that's what you want to do in life, right? So yeah, I think it's a constant among these answers. So thank you to all. And I think there's Milica.
Yeah, so I actually have two questions. The first one would be a little bit what you were saying, that it is important to share your idea all the time, you get feedback, which I completely agree with. But is it, since my background is more scientific, and whenever you approach the companies, they usually ask you for IP, you know, like to have your intellectual property protected or your idea protected. Do you think that this is also the case with your startups? Like, did you feel the need to somehow prove that you have
Yeah, I can start. I think IP is a big topic, and it's very important also to like save it. But if you are in an environment and then you have some NDAs or something, so no disclosures agreements, something like that. Yeah, thank you. So it's very important to be aware, but I think the most of the startup think when I talk to somebody about my idea, he will steal it instantly. And that's not the case, because IP is not just the idea, it's everything around that. So it's important to be careful, but on my experience, it's not like the case that they steal it immediately.
But my question also went in the direction, in the sense, did you find it necessary to have some kind of IP or whatever in order to get financing? Like, is it something that you found necessary, or can you just approach the funds without really having your idea protected?
So it's always good when you don't share everything. So is that what you mean, or I didn't get?
No, it's more like when you not necessarily share your idea with the interested parties, but when you want to acquire funding. In order for them to grant you funding, do they ask you to show that you to show that you actually have your idea protected? Otherwise, it's a big risk for them, let's say. That's what I meant more.
Also in my experience, so like software, I mean, 50% of a startup, the value of a startup is the founding team. So it's about the persons who are, let's say, capable of doing it. And so if an investor, for example, is looking at a startup, then he really looks, what is the team? Do I believe in the team? And the second thing is the idea, yeah, at some point you have to protect it, because if another company sees, why don't we do it? Let's say Google or let's say Microsoft makes the best mobile math game in the world. I don't know why they are not doing it yet, I'll be honest, but so in science it's also a bit difficult. If you want to have a patent or some biotechnology process secured, then I mean, if it's developed at university, then the question is how do you spin off, how do you find out? And then there are some programs at universities, which I know. I was also an accelerator program to do a spin-off where you negotiate with the legal department of the university. And I think the first step in a pre-seed phase is, and at my university there's a lot of funding for that, to secure your IP. So that's the first thing, and to make an agreement with the university how you can use what you developed at university, for example. And later on, I mean, there's public funding, they don't need IP protection, but at some point, if you have really private investors, business angels, capital venture things, then you should have a protection. But then that's a long way to go there. And also in experience, you have to decide if you like that way. I have to put it like that. It's tough protecting everything. VCs are not fun. Yeah.
I also want to add to that part. So, like we have obviously people who are usually scared, like because obviously, as I mentioned, like scared that the idea could be stolen. So, from what I've seen, a lot of startups, obviously, yes, you can have IP, you secure your idea, but anyways, most of the time, you still have some way to get the idea. We have Uber. Is that the only Uber we've got? No, we've got Bolt, other companies that preceded. So you don't always have to be, you can try to create a monopoly, but that doesn't mean you will be able to create a monopoly. Uber doesn't have a monopoly. There's other companies that compete, depends on every market. But obviously Uber had that advantage. They started earlier. They already had the data, the resources, they started earlier. And as well with Tesla, for example, now. They were the first ones to create electric cars. They had obviously their own technology developed, which was very good. And now they share those, let's say the Tesla Roadster, their documentations, they make the IP public. Why? Because they don't care anymore about it. Because if they even use that stuff, they're already ahead a few years. So they don't need it anymore. Tesla doesn't need it anymore. So you just want to try to be ahead of as much as possible. Like, example, like as I said, now with Tesla, they don't remind about it because they're already ahead a few years, and other companies are catching up. Their technology is, let's say, not as good as theirs, or they are, but obviously the market is also slowly more expanding, the electric market is expanding. But as I said, like, they're already ahead, they already have some aspect, they're still scaling, there's still more space for other companies. You won't be the only company on the market most of the time. There will be other competition, but you don't need to be the number. You can also be number one, but that doesn't mean also being number one, second or third is a disadvantage. So I would say it depends obviously on market conditions. There is some gray area what classifies what you should provide, what you shouldn't. And like me as well, I would say from obviously I do like consulting. So obviously one first question is like, okay, you probably want you to create content about what you should do and everything, your knowledge, you don't give all the special details. Like usually I don't mind sharing what I do because either way, if I share it on LinkedIn, you can read everything I think about, my strategy and so on. Because I know most companies, they always won't execute on what I share there. Because obviously they don't have the time, resources, they don't want to become a marketer because they are another position in the company as a manager or CEO. But I use that to share my expertise, and then in the future they can eventually hire me. But obviously, that's more of a consultancy. Startups are a bit different, but that's, I would say, my take on IP.
Thank you. If I may, another question, or there is someone who... No? Okay. So I just wanted to ask, like, lately there has been, like, more focus on personal branding, like how you present yourself. Whenever you meet someone, there is a specific phrase maybe you say, and that's how you want people to remember you. You know, like, I'm this guy who does this. Do you have some, or do you have some tips on this?
My tip, first off, is read the book Story Branding by Donald Miller. That's a very good book about personal branding. So obviously, you want to, from a perspective of branding, you want to make sure everything on everything on the internet is very well written. Also, how you present yourself, you talk to people, make people know about you. So when they say, "Who's that guy?" Oh, that's the branding guy. Or they just know me as a phrase. So you want to somehow be known for something. And Story Branding is a very good book about that. It has a very nice, simple way of building a sequence of building that personal brand, how to describe and share your experience. So if you're building your personal brand, you want to know people, get as much connection as possible, get people to know you. I believe, I'm not sure exactly how I landed up at this conference as well, but I think it could be also influenced by, obviously, who the person who invited me was also knows me, knew about that I'm doing marketing. He also follows me on LinkedIn. So there could also be influence that could cause that I was invited for this conference. So if you focus on all the aspects, people that know you, talk about it, share what you do, then other people can be even willing to ask you questions about it. Potentially, maybe they know somebody else that will need my advice. And then I would say that's how you build your brand. You just talk about what you do, make sure your LinkedIn is also very well clean, and just share your knowledge, expertise, talk about it, and also share as well if you can as well online. Especially, let's say I do LinkedIn, I'm more in corporate, so I share my knowledge and what I do on LinkedIn. So yeah.
I don't have a personal branding strategy. I have an avatar. And I thought about calling myself a mathematician. That's all.
I either do not have a personal brand strategy, or at least maybe not one that I am conscious of, but I know that when I introduce myself and when I talk to people, I notice that often when I travel a lot, and it's also one of the reasons I'm strongly involved in Sharing Unite, is because I love different cultures and I love everything related. And I talk about it because I really enjoy talking about it, and people remember me for what I talk about, and of course, it's what I'm passionate about. And so I think even if it's unconscious, it kind of works. Like when they talk about me, I remember someone said, "Oh, that's the girl who visited like 30 countries." And I was like, "How do you know this?" But I realized I unconsciously talk about it because it's my passion to like visit, discover cultures, etc. And I think even if it's not conscious, it's still part of it. So yeah.
I want to also quickly add about that. Also, like getting other people to recognize you is important. So, for example, when I came to Poland, I started from scratch because I immigrated from South Africa to Poland. So I started my whole entire life from scratch, new city, didn't know anybody, nothing. So I got involved into a lot of organizations. Obviously, I still can do a lot more as well. But if you get involved in some, obviously, if you're a student, you get involved in student organizations, you go to some conferences, talk about it, you go to another city, you go to another like meetup, and people start recognizing me. Like somebody, let's say, I know, for example, people in our student council, my sister, for example, if you ask her, hey, who do you know at the university that does that? And you immediately know. And people like, for example, tell me, oh, Jakob, you know everybody at the university. You probably know about this aspect. Or who I can contact to find out about that. So if you build this network, obviously, it's as well people recognize you. But you can also know who you go to if you need something. Finance for organization, investors, VCs, etc., etc. So if you go as well, talk to somebody, that also helps to have people more recognize you. And yeah.
Yeah, I also don't have a personal branding strategy, but the only thing that I really learned is to be authentic is more important to be professional. So, and this was all about like, if I'm just be myself, so I'm the best version of myself. So yeah, that's okay. So
I would say if you have any more questions, Milica, the speakers will be present after the event. So, Paul.
Yeah, I have a question. You were speaking before about the fear of failure, and Alexander was speaking previously about jumping to the unknown. How did you face and overcome that fear, and what did it take for you to start? Maybe your company or maybe your association, because in sometimes we are afraid of, yeah, but I need 3,000 euros, or I don't know how many money or time, or I need help because I don't know anything about this. What did it take for you? Because I believe that the answer is not much.
I practiced a lot. I tried a lot of things. I used a lot of opportunities to organize stuff, and student unions and other associations. And this helped me gain confidence. And that's why at that point when I was asked, I was ready, I would say.
I would say a great analogy is a student organization or business is you can't, like, let's say running. If you want to start something, let's say you want to start running, you can't read books about running. You just go and run. So as well, another analogy is also great, like if you, business or building something is like a marathon. You want to run a marathon, but you're not fit, you're fat, you can't do it, but you have to learn how do you do it. Business is kind of like you have to, you are running the marathon, you start the marathon, and you actually training for the marathon while you're running the marathon, and you don't know where the finish line is. So that's kind of how I would say, like, you just have to start, you learn along the way, you fail, you don't know how exactly when you will reach your X goal, and you just experiment along the way. You just have to go into the, dive into the deep waters, and you learn along the way, and everything deviates a bit, like for me, deviated from what I've initially planned. And I would say a lot of people, my own background, had that same experience. They thought they were going that trajectory, and then it transitioned. So testing, you just go dive, and you just dive into the sea, and you see along the way how it goes.
For me, I would say I strongly stand by this. As long as you trust in what you're doing, it's even, like you said, let's say, oh, I need 3,000 euros to do this, and you don't have access to this. Strongly believing in what you want to do helps you also think out of the box and try find new ways to achieve what you want to do. So let's say I need 3,000 euros because I need, I don't know, equipment, appliances, etc. Maybe I can try and see if people are willing to lend them to me. Maybe I can try and see, I don't know, create them with my own hands, I don't know. Being inventive about how to make things happen is also something that helps a lot. Thinking out of the box, yeah.
Yeah, as Gerd said, it's just important to start. And I think the first failure is the hardest one, and then it will be better. So yeah, you have to start, and it's maybe, yeah.
Short notice, if you have a situation and you don't know, it's dubious and uncertain, there is the handstand method. You just put what can possibly go wrong and just put the most ridiculous situation, an asteroid is crashing, just to make fun of it. So this is also a way how to deal with anxiety.
Also often, like, if you fail in something, usually in the future you also look back at it and you laugh at it. So sometimes you do a mistake on stage or something, first you feel terrible about it, but after a few years you like just look back and it's good old times, good memories sometimes, and you just laugh about it. So yeah, very good analogy and idea, strategy.
Thanks. Then I guess we can make a round of applause for our speakers. It was really insightful. And now to conclude, I would say a common theme that emerged was the fact that you cannot do things alone. So I will make another round of applause for everybody that was involved in the organization of the event, so UPC people. And finally, a personal takeaway from today is the fact that this is what Unite is about at the end. You cannot do things alone. We connect across Europe, so I would say this wouldn't have been possible by ourselves, you know. A lot of people from all across the different universities were involved in this project.
And thanks to all the students who are watching from home.
Exactly. A round of applause to you. And so, finally, 3 words to conclude. Let's connect, let's innovate, and let's unite. Good night, everyone.
Oh, wow. This is for you.
Amazing. Wow.